Hey guys, here's an update on the main chassis. Progress has been slow but steady. This is one of the more challenging chassis I've worked on to date. Not just because of the condition with the cap venting and the goo I cleaned off, but the way it's built. The caps are stacked several layers deep in places. There's one way down there I actually had to remove this to get at it, and in other places I've had to disconnect parts to bend them out of the way to replace the part and then put it back in. So it's been slow, but it's matching up with the service info pretty well. I haven't had any trouble identifying anything other than the caps when I take them out have been absolutely miserable and I can't read them, so I have to clean them or melt the wax off to see the values just to verify it. But so far everything is matched. Now I did mess up with ordering parts a little bit. And I admit I wanted to splurge a little more, even so. I bought some more stuff from Mauser. What I mean by splurging a little more is I bought even more Sprague atoms. I'd gotten the 10 and 4 microfarad earlier, but there's also, I think, 500 microfarad, and I was going to use more conventional lower price caps for that, but I figured since I had to place another order anyways for both this and an upcoming project yet to be unveiled, why not? So I picked up 5 more Sprague atom caps, and I got some beefier power resistors for the audio amp. Everything is going along swimmingly. I hope to do a first full power up in the next few days. I gotta say, I'm continuing to be impressed with how amazingly well this thing is cleaning up, both on the outside of the chassis and underneath. Absolutely has nothing to do with the side working or not, but boy, it's pretty when it's cleaned up. Now, another big challenge has been the wiring, both because in places it's going into flexible tubing and in other places it's laced up. But another issue is the material used. In some places, plastic insulated wire, solid core, pretty similar to modern stuff. But in other areas, these wires in particular, I believe it's lacquered cloth covered insulation, which is very unforgiving to movement. It starts cracking, the lacquer cracks, then the cloth starts fraying. In places I've had to slide some heat shrink tubing over it. These two in particular. I think what I'm going to end up doing is these 4 wires here are the ones that go all the way out to this yoke in this wiring bundle. And from all the flexing, there are cracks all along the length of that, so I'll probably end up replacing the whole thing. But some of these are a drag leg. This one is also cracking badly, but it goes right up into this wiring bundle. And if I try to, say, remove one end and then pull it out through that bundle and slide a new one down through, I risk compromising the other wires, if I could even do it at all. Or I have to alter the original wiring and remove it and just run it along. You know, obviously all that's possible, I'd just rather not. And check out all this shielded wiring. That was not commonplace in the 40s to have shielded wire. It's cloth covered though. So again, you really don't want to mess with this stuff. Definitely don't want to flex it, and really try to avoid having to undo any of those connections, because this cloth covered, I don't even think there's any, some wires it's plastic and then cloth over it. I think these are just cloth, or maybe there's some gutter perch or natural rubber type insulation down below. But man, you just can't bend these. And using the old trick of heating up the wire and trying to bend it, it really doesn't help any. You just can't move them, or you're going to have to replace the wire. Taking a break from soldering to check out the tubes, and immediately found some oddities. For example, the tuner should be a trio of 6J6s. Well, we've got 2 nice RC6J6s and then a 6BA6, which no, is not even remotely compatible with that. But there are 6BA6s in this, which makes me wonder, was somebody pulling out tubes and stuck them back in the wrong spot? Don't know. Something else curious. I'd mentioned earlier the horizontal Oh, sorry, the vertical output, I thought was curious. They used a 6AR5. That's not what I found there. I found a 6AQ5, which is also a beam power output tube, so they might be compatible. I'm not sure. Well, let's continue and pull out more tubes and see what we've got. Well, here are all the tubes. No other surprises. I am curious to see if these two rectifiers are any good, given all the abuse this set has seen. Pretty sure this is shot, but I'll test it anyways, just for the heck of it. It's a horizontal output tube. So I'm going to pop out my Hickok 600A, fire it up, and let the testing begin. Well, we're off to a great start. Amazingly, the very, very toasted looking 6BG6 output tube is actually good. Very good. I'm still inclined to replace it because it looks absolutely miserable, but we'll try it out. It does test very good. Well, we got the audio amp working in a previous installment. I've done a bit more work on the main chassis. I am anxious to do a full power-up. Now, this is a little bit different because the cathode ray tube and this console set is installed off to the side, so we have the focus coil, the deflection yoke on these long wires going off to the side. So I have this hooked up, but I don't have the high voltage hooked up because it has the weird original connector for the 15AP4, which was a Dumont style connection. I still have some hopes of resurrecting the original CRT, so I am going to put that inside a coffee cup to keep it out of the way. I have hooked up the audio amp to the main chassis, and what I'm hoping to do is to see, does the radio work? Then we'll progress to the TV. So here we go. That's a great sign. I've got my PR57 in current mode, and 4M scale we are pulling 1.5 amps or so. Let's see, I think this is the mode switch. It's phono. I think it's AM and FM and then TV, so stay in radio mode. This should be volume. Tuning. I don't have any antenna hooked up, so current draw is holding steady. Awesome. I think we're in FM mode.
All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe."
So antenna, yeah.
Hey, we're pretty good.
This will be the TV, and I'm assuming FM antenna mode.
Adopting a teen for foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by...
trash.
Not only is the FM radio working fairly well, I haven't recapped most of the radio yet, so it goes to show you that you don't have to necessarily recap everything. Also amazing, considering how messed up this set was, that the radio is working.
2121. Listen live on your smart speaker. Just say,
Alright, so the radio is working quite well. I was checking for high voltage with the aid of a fluorescent tube, and I wasn't getting anything. And then it occurred to me, well, I'm in radio mode, and I think this set is smart enough that it disables the sweep circuits when you're listening to the radio. Although I can see the tubes are lit up, but I think it kills the drive voltages and various things. So let's put this into TV mode, which I think is fully clockwise. Yes. So I've also got my scope on the grid of the horizontal output tube. So radio mode, flat line. TV mode, there's our horizontal drive. And now, if I put my fluorescent tube near the high voltage stuff, and then there's not even there's no shield over this flyback, so should be able to get a pretty good indication if I bring this near it, if it's functioning. Oh yeah. Hey. Cool. However, CRT isn't glowing for a very good reason. That reason being this. The connector for the high voltage, this is Dumont's early type. That's not what any normal CRT television picture tube uses for the high voltage connector. So, I could try to rig something up, but see, I'm a little bit torn. So the picture tube that came with this is dead, but I'm hoping it can be resurrected or rebuilt at some point. And that does go with that goofy connector. But for here and now, I want to use this bench CRT. Yeah, this is a little bit different from what I'm used to doing because of the long wires going to the picture tube. So I can actually have this spaced pretty far away from the chassis. So I do actually have a CRT hooked up, but there's no high voltage going to it. I think I'll just remove the entire lead and use a modern high voltage wire and put a different high voltage connector on the end of it so I can snap it into this guy. But before I flip the chassis down, let's talk about this area. So this looked miserable when I started working on the set. It was darkened, the power resistors looked really roasted, so I was assuming that this area must get super hot. And I got a suggestion about, hey, maybe I should use some chassis mount power resistors, relocate them, do something to alleviate it. But now that I've had it running for a while, they don't get that warm. So this guy is right across the damper tube, going right from the plate to the cathode. So it's damping the damper tube, so to speak. This guy does get a bit toasty. But even so, I mean, I got my finger on it, and I'm not being burned or anything. It shuts off, so I'm not going to get shocked. And the guy going across above it, barely warm. So I really don't think that it's all that much of a concern. So why did the other ones roast? Well, this guy feeds, it's part of the power supply. So when this cap shorted, it may very well have just really been killing that resistor. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Well, it turned out that the wire was a bit fraying going to that old style high voltage connector, so I just clipped it off, tinned the end, and spliced on a conventional anode cap. I'll do a neater job later, but right now I want to see if we can get a arrestor on this CRT. So face towards us a little more, using a 8XP bench CRT because my 5AXP4 is currently occupied in another project. Okay, here we go. Sam's here, so no controls do what? Brightness, this nice, nice, nice. After all that, works on the first power up. Awesome. I mean, obviously we don't have a sparkling clear image or anything, but I'm not done recapping. I'm not even feeding a signal in. I just wanted to see that happen. Oh, that is a weird setup. I'm looking at the controls here. Dead center, concentric controls, horizontal and vertical hold. The most prominent knob in the set. I guess I figured you'd need to do it a lot. I'm adjusting them right now. So there's vertical hold and horizontal hold. That is fantastic. Now what about that dark spot in the middle? Well, yeah, these what they call bench CRTs, test CRTs. They're meant to be subbing for a full-size picture tube while you're working on a set, and they're no-nonsense, rugged. They don't have ion traps. So that's what an ion burn looks like. That spot will gradually get darker and darker and larger over time. Hey, let's talk about the radio for a moment before I power this down and start doing some more work on it. As this is exhibiting a behavior I think I've seen in every early vintage FM radio I've ever worked on. So the set for this from 47, 48. FM using the modern band was a pretty new thing, and I'm pretty sure it was mono. But here's what it does. So I'm tuned onto a station. Sounds good, right? If I start tuning, I get in another spot. So there's the station, right? If I keep turning, it'll fade out a little bit. And then there it is again. So tuning, there's the station, right? And there it is again, even louder. Fades out. And there it is again. So, my question is that because it's stereo signal and this doesn't know how to handle it? Or is it an alignment issue? Because I've tried aligning early FM radios before, and I don't think I was ever able to completely eliminate that from a set. So I've just been accepting it, that's just the way it is, but I don't know if that's really true or not.